Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
The Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And today's show brought to you by our great friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. We've talked over the years about Purdy Insurance, about how they give back. Well, the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament, which took place May 2nd at the beautiful Susquehanna Valley Country Club, which had tremendous support, I believe it hit a record. They were able to garner better than $25,000 for the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. We're proud to have been a very tiny part of it. And we thank Adam Purdy, Steve Engel, everybody at Purdy Insurance for allowing us to be there and be a part of it. It was really well done. Again, to all the volunteers, thank you. It was great to see Bonnie again. They do great work. Boy, isn't it great when the community comes together like a family and does something like that? That's great. Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury, go to purdyinsurance.com. Well, the play-by-play call of the year, when you're looking through fog trying to call a horse race and you get it right, you're good. Larry Colmus, NBC Sports.
As they round the far turn in the fog at Pimlico. And Good Magic on the inside's got a head in front. Mike Smith goes to a ride on Justify. They are nose to nose. Justify now sticks a neck in front. He's going to try to put away Good Magic. And they're into the stretch. And Mike Smith goes to the whip on Justify. Tenfold is closing in with Bravazzo on the outside as the field comes into the final furlong. It is Justify in front. Good Magic on the outside, Tenfold, Bravazzo, Justify, he's unstoppable! He won the Preakness! Bravazzo was second, Tenfold was third, Good Magic was fourth, in a final time of 1 minute 55 and 4/5 seconds. Not even the fog could stop him!
So now, he races for the Triple Crown. But he'll race for the Triple Crown in an interesting spot, because the world was not wowed or impressed about Justify the way they were after the Kentucky Derby. But he'll have 3 weeks, and hopefully the weather stays like this, where you can put him on a dry track, a fast track, and turn him loose. The Belmont Stakes, to me, and sports in general are unpredictable anyway. That's why I think we love it so much. But to me, the Belmont Stakes is about as unpredictable as you can get. What gauge do you have to predict who's going to win the Belmont Stakes? Not one of these horses in their life has run 1.5 miles. None. There's no gauge. There's no way of knowing how they handle the marathon. We were talking about the Indianapolis 500. Look, car breaks down. All right, that happens. But you know what the drivers can do. You've seen them drive Indy 500s before. You've seen owners with cars. They've gone 500 miles before. It's a horse race. Not one of these horses in their lifetime has run 1.5 miles in a competitive race. So there's no way of saying, well, you know, Justify, when he ran 1.5 miles, he did this, and Good Magic, when he ran his 1.5 miles, he did that. Yeah. No. When they ran the Kentucky Derby at 1.25 miles, that's the longest they've ever run. So who knows? We'll have Dick Girardi on in a little more than 2 weeks to break it all down. Plus, we'll find out what the field's like, too.
You got to give NBC Sports a ton of credit just with, dealing with that fog. And you're right with you're right with Larry. They were right before the race started. You had like a shot of the back of Larry Collmus with his 2 monitors and
Yeah.
he could barely see in front of him. But great camera work and production work by the crew.
Yeah, it was great work by NBC. Because that's tough to do.
That was an interesting angle at the start of the race. I mean, you're literally track level. I mean, you're literally perpendicular to the horses as they go by and head down the straightaway.
I don't quite know what other option they had.
No.
To see it. But, they had to come up with something. And to their credit, they came up with it. They found it. All right. So, it was a huge recruiting weekend here, by the way. Well, I can only leave it at that because everyone knows if I can't go beyond that. Because I fall into that category of people who can't talk about it. It's a violation.
You will. Only a matter of time. It's all good.
I don't really worry about it until they're actually in camp and I can see them all. Then I look at them and go, okay. Ooh, he can play. Boy, at some point he's going to be able to play. That one's going to take a while. That's the way it is. Kim Jones, by the way, with us on Friday. Looking forward to that. You know what I like about, there's a lot of things, obviously, I like talking to Kim about. One of them is you know what? She just likes to talk football. We got all these issues that we talk about all the time. About, obviously gambling is going to be a big issue. We talk about the money and so forth. When it comes to stuff like that, Kim just wants to talk about football. Which I would rather just talk about football too. But we do talk about the other items because you have to talk about the parts that affect the fan. So when I'm talking about money, somebody said, well, how does that affect the fan? Well, it affects the fan in a lot of ways. Last time I checked, the fan has to pay for parking. The fan has to pay for cable. The fan has to pay for the tickets. The fan has to pay for the tailgate. He's like, cable? Yeah. When you're paying your cable bill, you're paying to watch games. That's why we bring up the financial part all the time. And if you're a fan, say you're a fan of football and basketball, okay, but you're a fan of one of the other sports. Let's pick out a primary one, wrestling. There are a lot of wrestling fans in our area. Love Penn State wrestling. All right, well, that's where the economics of it come into play. It's a perfect example of how the system works to benefit as many people as possible. Because, wrestling is not self-sustaining. It can't sustain itself. And don't be one of those naive people that go, well, I go there and every seat's sold, so they've got to be making money. No. Not even close to making money. They don't have a radio contract. They don't have a TV contract. There's, when you don't have all those things, you're not going to make any money in collegiate sports. You're just not. Well, they should get a TV contract. No, it has no worth. It has no value. You're not going to have people bidding for it. In fact, esports. Did you see that? They're going to put esports in the Asian games. Did you see that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
That's crazy.
They're going to put esports into the Asian games.
Wow.
With the idea, but you're like, okay, so what? With the idea is that they might make the Olympics. You're going to have video gamers in the Olympics.
Yeah, I know Turner Sports has a deal with the E-League. I'm not sure how long it lasts, but yeah, literally every weekend you can see 2 or 3 hours of live video game action on TBS. Yeah, coverage of the E-League.
Big Ten Network wants to do something with this.
Wow.
But
well, they know a lot of the student athletes love to play video games and football and Madden, that kind of thing, and
obviously David Price does. So but
Fortnite, big fan.
They're going to like make it a medal event at the Asian Games. With the idea is that then it'll have been propelled into the Tokyo Games. That's amazing. Watching people play video games. Really? I have a perfect announcer for it. That's not funny. He's the video game king, right?
He loves video games, yeah.
The suit? Yeah, the suit
Sure.
loves video games.
Yeah.
Hey, you have an option of actually going out there and physically trying it, or sit there and go, look, I won. And break no sweat at all. But yeah, esports, video games. How about that?
LOL, the League of Legends.
League of Legends, okay. Yeah. Explain this to me.
LOLesports.com. The League of Legends was selected as one of the esports titles for the 2018 Asian Games.
Okay.
League of Legends as an official demonstration sport.
Yeah.
An exciting opportunity for the League of Legends fans to see some of the region's best players represent their countries. Riot Games Esports will support the event by advising the Olympic Council of Asia and member nations during the team selection process and in building the tournament format. There will be changes to regional league calendars in Split 2 to make pro player participation in the Asian Games possible. There will be regional qualifiers taking place next month. 45 nations and regions can each field a team of 5 players. And then the qualifier process will narrow the field down to 8, and then those 8 teams advance to the Asian Games. Winners of the Southeast Asia, South Asia, Central Asia, West Asia qualifiers will receive an invitation to the Games. China, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, Japan, top 3 teams out of there will receive invitations to the Games.
This is going to be what, in Jakarta? That makes sense?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. August 18th to September 2nd.
And they're going to have, now, they've got other events, obviously.
Right. The League of Legends final round, that will go between the 24th to the 1st.
What gets me is they're televising this stuff.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Oh, boy. My life's changed. It really is remarkable. I mean, first of all, I can't play a video game to save my soul. I mean, when my kids were growing up, they wanted, I don't know, Xbox or whatever it was. And we bought it. And then I'm trying to think what the first one was. We bought it, and then my son Mike, who was my oldest son, wanted whatever it was, 2. PlayStation 2, I guess. And I was like, I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I wanted so fun. So then for his birthday, what the heck, I went out and I surprised him. Well, you'd have thought I gave him $1 million when I got him that thing.
Uh-oh, suit wants to apply. Uh-oh. One of the games IndyCar? You go around in circles? They don't have one out yet. Well, okay. Only one can hope.
Okay.
He's waiting.
How long would it get him out of the office?
It'd get you out of the office. Well, you'd have to go to Jakarta, so...
Yeah. I'd say you need a month to get acclimated, be there, 2 months acclimated. I mean, it would give us 6 weeks of inner peace.
Ooh,
All
hey,
right,
we got a developing situation. It spans August 24th to September 1st. What's the opening night of high school football season? August 24th. Let's get Mike Ferlazzo on the line. There you go. We're good here. We're good.
I can tell you right now, Ferlazzo do a great job. All right. In fact, hashtag we miss Mike. Dick and Milton. Dick, how are you doing today?
Good, Steve. I told Sean I was mowing grass, so every time you guys went over a subject, I wanted to comment, so I'll make up just a couple. You know, the horse racing, obviously, the Belmont coming up. The thing that I think is kind of unfair, every once in a while, a horse that didn't run either of the Preakness or the Kentucky Derby will get a fresh rehearsal run. And to me, it's kind of unfair in a sense, but I mean, it is what it is. They don't have to enter them anywhere other than one race. So,
you know, it's interesting about that, Dick, is that is brought up a fair amount. But just like, let's take, for example, auto racing.
Right.
If you miss and don't enter, you know.
Yeah, but the car's a little different than a horse that's run 2 or 3 weeks or 2 in a month.
You got that right.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to comment, this gambling thing, this betting, you know, I'm really perplexed about this sense. I go back to the Bill Spivey era when, you know, he couldn't play in the NBA for betting on his own games, I guess, at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And I can see this fraught with a lot of problems down the road. And I'm not telling you every kid.
You know what? You know, that's an interesting question. Because obviously you know the story that I announced a fixed game once, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay, and that was the Northwestern team. Obviously, it happened at Boston College, Rick Kuhn, right? Arizona State, CCNY. You mentioned Bill Spivey of Kentucky. Okay. But let's go to a place, for example, that has wide open gambling, England. What scandals do we hear of fixing of games or players or athletes getting money in England? And we don't. The British Open, never hear anything about that. Wimbledon, Premier League. Premier League would be one like, hey, is anybody on the take? And you never hear of any of that happening over there, so maybe we have proper concern about it, and I agree with your concern, but just maybe England's proving to us it's not as much of a worry as we think it is.
I mean, there's lots of gambling goes on now, and I understand that, but right. It's not going to be. But this is going to be a much more controlled type of gambling, and I mean, you can literally almost have somebody made the point. Well, you know what? They'll be actually betting on balls and strikes, but during the innings, which is almost whether they will or not, right. I don't know.
That's a good point. Let me follow up on that, Dick. Think of it this way: the people that want the game fixed want the big score. I think that's fair to say, right?
Right.
So they're trying to get the big score. So that element is out there now, with $190 billion being bet offshore. Now, what you're talking about is also very realistic and spot on. You're going to have a lot of people in stadiums, probably on phones, making prop bets. I gave the example of, hey, it's halftime. Well, Le'Veon Bell gained 50 yards in the second half. Boom, I'm going to put $25 on it. In England, they'll tell you that the 5-pound to 25-pound bets are the ones that now make the difference because there's so many of them. And those aren't ones where you're trying to fix anything because you're only betting for us $5 to $25. And those are the ones that make a difference that because of volume that help out states, casinos, and things like that. It's the big bettor that can get the big score. Going back to Goodfellas with Henry Hill, right? Because he was directly involved in the Boston College thing. They were looking for the big score. And Kevin Pendergast, the Notre Dame kicker at Northwestern, was building up to the big score. They used the Wisconsin and the Penn State games to see if the players he, quote, hired could do what they needed to make sure that they could keep it in the margins they needed it. And then when they went for Michigan, they couldn't do it. And Michigan won the game, but not by as much as the spread said, and everybody lost their shirt. And then some people were arrested.
Well, I hope it's not a big issue as I could perceive it being, and I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. We'll see what happens down the road. I guess more people would be more concerned about the betting than what's even going on in the game after a while.
Oh my goodness, Dick! Yeah.
You know what? I mean, everybody's on a phone now. Now they'll be on two phones.
Dick Girardi and Karen was there. Jeff Tarman. We were having lunch at the Orleans in Vegas, and the restaurant is adjacent to Sportsbook. And when I think the Carolina was playing the Giants, and it was the year Carolina went to the Super Bowl, the Giants came down and tied the game, and the place went insane. Insane. We were like, I looked up and said, the Giants must have tied it. Well, then, eventually, I think it was in overtime, Carolina kicked a field goal, won the game. You could hear a pin drop. Nobody cared. Why? Because they already made their money. The Giants already covered the spread. Is that where we are in sports? To me, it's winning and losing the game.
I think that's a lot of where we're at with everything right now. But the other thing I heard you mention was attendance at Major League Sports. I think attendance as a racing, you'd have to ask Kevin about that, but I think the attendance in racing is down a lot, too. Yeah. Maybe it's down in everything. I don't know.
It's way down, because I know when Kevin goes to an auto race now, he buys the cheap tickets and moves down to the front row. It's always been his way of doing things.
Well, but I know baseball attendance is down, and football was down this year at somewhat, and whether it'll come back or not, it was down because of all the issues. We'll see where that goes this year also. But everything affects attendance, and I think this summer gasoline prices will affect it. People drive into a game if they can sit home and watch it. In some cases, maybe they might not go as often. I guess that's my point.
You know what, though? How many times have you heard me say that I think stadiums and ballparks are too big?
Well, I'm sure of that.
Yeah, and I've talked about that repeatedly. Wow.
How's the attendance at Spikes games?
Spikes games have been good, Dick. They've been a little bit under. They've been about 3,500.
Because I know the cross cutters get a pretty nice attendance for the I don't know what the park holds now. They cut the seating down, I think, somewhat.
Yeah, it's down to the seating's down to 2,100, I think there, which is just right for them. That's just right.
Right, it's just right for the cross cutters and just not right for the Major League game when they show up. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when that happens, it's too small. Yeah.
A little bit, but it's only one game. Well, anyhow, you cover enough. When I'm mowing grass for an hour and a half, you guys cover a lot of subjects, but I'm just listening, and I don't have a phone in my hand. I didn't even make any bets the whole time I was doing that.
Yeah. You got to concentrate on making sure those rows stay even, Dick. You can't be stopping to
I don't do the Major League rows. I know they're unbelievable when I look at those outfields.
My goodness. Oh, I look at. When I walk across the grass at Beaver Stadium, I still look around and go, yeah, every once in a while I'll pull Herb Combs. I go, Herb, I found a weed. He goes, what? Just kidding, Herb.
Okay, nice talking to you.
Hey, good luck with the lawn, Dick.
I'm done. Thank you. Finished.
He's done. Yeah, another victory for mankind. Way to go.
You got her.
All right, thanks, Dick. All right, we'll come back. Patrick Chambers in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle with a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is The Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us today. Brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Purdy's have served this valley for decades. Auto, home, life, business, you name the insurance. And they'll find you the best price, and they will be your absolute partner in any situation. There's that great, really great, realistic commercial that Adam Purdy does for us where he says, look, something happened to one of our clients in Canada. He called me up on the weekend. He said, man, I checked right away. I said, look, Dave, you're okay. You're covered. Don't worry about it. That's what you want to have, that kind of relationship with your insurance agent, because things happen, and they don't happen on a timetable any of us expect. So, Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. I'm in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And by the way, isn't it great to be back on the air after the news, Sean?
Yeah, we covered a lot during the break for sure. Not just you and me. But, yeah.
Isn't it great to be back on? Where, I'm sorry, we're on the air right now. You can't come in. My goodness.
His meeting wrapped up early. Lucky
us. Why?
Yep.
wonder why. Called it the most important week of his life.
Loves this week.
Are we getting a sale? No. All right. Penn State basketball coach Patrick Chambers. Patrick, welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Steve. Isn't that my line? Aren't I supposed to say
Yeah, you're supposed to say that.
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Pat from State College.
I'm just glad anybody listens. In fact, if you force your kids to listen, that quadruple our audience. All right,
we're not forcing anything here, Steve. We're enjoying.
Yes, we're enjoying. I want to ask you about.
Steve, you have a lot to talk about, right? How about this football recruiting weekend?
I know.
They crushed it.
I know.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing what they've done. Of course, for me to get into specifics, as you know, is an NCAA violation for me, so I can't do it.
I know, but I can say generically what a nice weekend it's been.
Yes, done very, very well. I want to ask you about Tony, first of all. What was the read that you were able to get as to how he was able to do in a combine setting in Chicago?
It looked like he shot very well from the reports that I received and people that were there. The scrimmage, I think he tweaked his ankle, so I'll base all my information off of what he did in the drills and the shooting drills. He shot the ball extremely well. He interviewed extremely well. I talked to some NBA organizations who gave me some very positive feedback, and he's got a great week ahead of him. He's got some teams that he's going to see over the next couple of weeks, so he's very busy right now.
Well, I want one quick note about part of the interview. This is the ability to know the game. There's certainly some natural things that he already knows about the game, but what are a couple of areas that he specifically worked on here in 2 years, Patrick, in watching him, where you know he was able to improve himself in terms of knowledge of the game?
Well, I think he really learned how to use a ball screen the most effective way and the most efficient way. I think he understood, especially at the end, when to shoot, when to pass, when to read the defense who was on the second level, whether to throw back for three or throw a lob or a dump off to Mike and John. Or sometimes it's a simple kick ahead. And we have terminology for all of this. So I think that aspect of it. And I also believe time and score. And then he had a good feel for the game. When we were in huddles, I would look at Tony and say, what do you see out there? What do your eyes see? Because I'm not out there. I know what I see, and we know what Ferry sees, and we kind of put our heads together and we say, all right, what do you see? And we say, hey, well, what do you like? And he might say, a play or two. He's like, no, we're on the same page. Go ahead. So we would just keep going with it. So, that's the ultimate trust, to be able to talk to your point guard in a very stressful situation in a close game and really have that type of dialogue and trust him with his decision making.
You also allowed him, though, to also call plays during the course of the game because of what he was able to see and because of that trust factor.
There's no doubt. There was times in the game where, again, we would meet, the three of us, Coach Ferry, myself, and Tony, and basically go over, these are the 4 plays. If you like them, this is what we want you to run. And then there was other times he saw something different and went off the grid a little bit, and he would look at me, he would call the play, and I would say thumbs up or thumbs down. And mostly I went thumbs up because I like what he was thinking, how he thought the game.
Right. Now that brings us to the next part. You're going to have a sophomore point guard and a true freshman in here. What is Jamari Wheeler's knowledge of the game, at least as a base starting point for him?
Jamari's got a high IQ as well. I think he's going to slow down a little bit, although I don't want him to slow down. I love his speed. I love his toughness. I love his competitive fire. I think he really can put teams on their heels. He really gets in you on the defensive end and frustrates you and speeds you up, and we want that. But he also knows how to run a team. He has a great understanding of who we want to get shots, and then understands when he needs to make plays and how to make them. And he's always going to look at the shot clock to determine those type of situations. So we have great faith and trust in Jamari. He played his role beautifully. He understood, make plays for others, played great defense, be a spark off the bench. Do those things that we need to do to maybe change a game or change the speed of the game. Now it's going to be a little different this year for him. So he's going to be thrusted into the fire, even more so, and to understand, pace of the game, who hasn't gotten a shot in a while, flow of the game, and then make sure he limits his turnovers and just really make good decisions.
Well, part of this, of course, is you have to have student athletes who have the want. I want to be good. And then they have to, then they want to be there at 5 a.m. They want to be there at 6 a.m. They want to be working on their shot, for example. Is this the kind of player you're talking about?
You're never going to have to worry about Jamari Wheeler's 1-2. He is amazing. The kid lives in the gym. He's always going to get better. I know everybody's concerned out there is his shooting. He's going to be able to make shots. I think he's going to have the confidence to make shots. He's going to work on the great habits in the off season to continue to develop his shot. And when it's his opportunity to shoot the ball or make shots, he's going to be terrific. I really believe that. I feel like this year his role was perfectly set for him. We didn't need him to score. We didn't need him to make shots. We had plenty of other guys.
Yeah.
We had 5 guys in double figures. We didn't need it.
Right.
So, to go into a game that's selfless is pretty amazing. But he's a 1-2 guy. He lives in the gym. He's going to be in the weight room. He's going to be the hardest worker on this team.
And if you're at a practice or a series of practice, especially, you and I both know he can shoot the ball. It's just
no doubt.
It's sometimes kind of hard to build a field goal percentage when you're only taking 1 or 2 in a game. And
it's extremely hard when he knows he's only get 1 or 2 opportunities. An end the clock shot. Very rare that he get an in rhythm like at the 15-second mark. It was always helter skelter. So he'll be, the speed will slow down for him. The pace will slow down for him. There's going to be more rhythm jumpers than rushed jumpers. And again, he's going to work on it.
Rasir Bolden would be the other one. Hasn't played a game here, so obviously there has to be a building of trust. But when you sit down and you talk with him, what kind of basketball IQ does he bring to the table?
He has a big-time upside. IQ is very high for the game, loves the game, loves to be in the gym. He proved last year he was can really play with the ball in his hands, and the luxury with Rasir is he can play the weak side or the off guard. So he can do it all, and I'm excited about that. But he can definitely play the point. He can definitely make plays for others. He's got a burst. He can go rip the rim off right down the lane or on top of somebody, and he really shoots the ball at a very high percentage.
You'll make changes and tweaks from time to time in your offense because you want to have it fit your personnel. Is that something you will consider based on the personnel you have with this team?
Steve, we're already working on that. I'm sending Ferry and Ross and Ergo, pick shots of plays that I'm diagramming while I'm working out downstairs. I'm on the board. Man, we're having a lot of fun just to get certain guys in certain places with certain different screening action. We're having a blast so far this offseason.
All right. Part of the offseason also means Coaches versus Cancer. There's so many events during the course of the year that involve Coaches versus Cancer, which we've talked about. But, of course, the primary one is the golf tournament, which is next week. The chance to go over $3 million in all of this, considering the size of the community and so forth, how remarkable an accomplishment is that?
Well, as you were saying that, Steve, I'm like, wow, it just sounds it sounds amazing. The generosity, the compassion, the care that people have in this community for one another is so incredibly powerful. And that's the money staying right here, too. So we're helping locally. We're helping families with – and then sometimes people are like, oh, what's it going to research? Where's it going? Yeah, some of it's going to research. And some of it's going right here to let somebody stay at the Hope Lodge, or maybe they need gas money or toll money to get to treatments, or maybe they need to pay a bill. I don't know, but there's certain situations that arise where we can help them with some finances or help them with some issues that they're going through. And we want to be there for them. Like you said, May 31st, next Thursday, Meadow Field. Awesome event. As you know, awesome event. A lot of fun, a lot of prizes, auction items, live music, some beverages, some food, a lot of laughs, some great celebrities. And, of course, we're celebrating those we lost, and we're celebrating those who succeeded. And, man, we need to come together and share stories and be there for one another.
You've done a great job of investing yourself in Penn State and in Penn State basketball. What did this tournament do to maybe help you invest even more in the community?
Yeah, I got to know a lot of people. Obviously, Kathy and Mitchie, who went through some battles. But then you really get to meet the community and people that are so generous or volunteering their time. You get to know them on a different level and build relationships. I think that's where CVC has really helped me personally get to know more people in town. But then you're also helping everybody, and I think they see that. And then we all work together, right, Steve? I see more people at games. I see more people volunteering. I see more people being generous and willing to help. Because sometimes you think, oh, we've been doing this for 7 years. We have to do it again. Yes, we have to do it again.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, it is a great time. And yes, we haven't defeated cancer. But yes, people need our help. So let's continue to do that. And when you have great relationships, trusting relationships, and you like one another, well, guess what's going to happen? You have a chance to surpass $3 million.
Yeah. And if you want to get involved with Coaches versus Cancer, sponsor, volunteering, being a part of it, www.cvcpennstate.org. That's www.cvcpennstate.org, or you can call 814-238-3430. That's 814-238-3430. We look forward to seeing everybody out there next week, Thursday night at Medler Field, Lebrano Park, and then Friday on the golf courses. Coach, thanks so much.
Hey, Steve, one real quick thing. This committee works all year long. They have done a phenomenal job. So I got to give a shout-out to Scott and the committee. They're incredible, and all the great sponsors. So please come out. May 31st, June 1st. Love to see you there.
Well, they're committed to it, Patrick, like it's a full-time job. I mean, seriously, they treat it that way.
They really do. And their heart is completely committed to helping everybody locally. And that's what makes it so special.
Patrick, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Steve. See you, buddy.
Head basketball coach Patrick Chambers. We'll come back with more in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance.
Here's Adam Purdy with another example of how Purdy Insurance is different.
I was at home one Saturday when I got a call from a client who had just been in an auto accident with a rental car in Canada. After confirming that everyone was okay, I checked his policy and assured him that we had the proper coverages in place. Within a few minutes, I had his claim called in and he was back to enjoying his vacation.
Purdy Insurance has been answering calls like this for over 90 years.
Give Purdy Insurance a call today at 800-677-2478 to see what we can do for you.
Did we ever cover a wide swath today? My goodness. We talked a little bit about football. We talked a little bit about gambling. We talked a little bit about baseball, the Phillies and the Braves. 6:30 tonight airtime on News Radio 1070 WKOK, WKOK.com. Phils are gaming at back of the Braves. 7:05 first pitch tonight. We then got into slightly. We had horse racing. And then we mentioned IndyCar, but not. How would you characterize how we mentioned IndyCar?
We were dialed into IndyCar for a nice chunk of time, going through today's highlights of practice.
15, 20 seconds?
A little more than that.
25?
About a minute or so. Well, you found a crash that happened today on there?
Yeah, I did. It did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we dove into it quite a bit, more than you thought.
No, the guy got released from the hospital, so, I mean, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, we did mention that. That's true.
Yeah, shared breaking news. Yeah.
You know, now, during the commercial break, you said to me, that's a minute of our lives we'll never get back. I mean, I thought, okay, that's kind of cruel. All right. And then we mentioned esports. Oh, esports.
Wow.
Now, look, I'm old-fashioned in a lot of ways. And one of them happens to be Dick from Milton called in about gambling. And I understand exactly where he's coming from. He didn't say anything I haven't thought of myself along the way. We're on the same page. And to me, on the gambling part, for example, to me, it's like who wins the game, who doesn't. I don't, I mean, that to me is the bottom line, but that's not what gets people interested. I understand that. All right, so I can live with that. All right, video games. Now, my kids have video games. I can't play them. But you're going to tell me that's an Olympic sport? Really? You're telling me that playing a video game is an Olympic sport, something you can do at the arcade. Do arcades even exist anymore?
There's some that are around. There's some around, but they're like retro pinball games and video games from 20, 30 years ago. Not what they'll be playing in Asia coming up at the end of August.
To me, it's a video game. I can't play it, but where's the athleticism in it?
It's all the fingers.
Your station for news, weather, business, and CBS Sports Radio. News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury and on WKOK.com.